So, in the first reading, you have the concluding question that's a little haunting. Is the Lord in our midst or not? Is he or is he not? They have this wild experience, the Exodus moment. They're dragged through the desert. Things are happening. People are worshiping golden calves. If you take the whole story and all that's going on, and then they come to this point and they're thirsty. And Moses turns to God and is like, you better do something or they're going to kill me. And so, water from a rock. That's a pretty good miracle, huh? Water from a rock. Nice. And the story ends with them still asking the question, is the Lord in our midst or not? And then you move into what Paul had to say to the Romans, and I will never, ever, 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 ever understand why, this is Romans chapter 5, and I will never understand. So it's verses 1 to 2, skip a few, and moves on to verse 5. But what it skips is our life. I will never understand why they have removed these verses. They're critical. I call them the roadmap for faith. And I just don't understand why we would cut them out. It's where Paul said, and not only that, and we boast in our suffering. Not only that, he says, we don't just boast in what Jesus has done, but we boast in our suffering. Why? Because suffering produces endurance, endurance produces character, character produces hope, and now we're back to the lectionary, and hope does not disappoint. But you can't skip to the end of the map. You can't avoid all those other steps. Neither can I. I'm not trying to put that on you. Suffering produces endurance. Endurance produces character. Character produces hope. And we want to go right to the hope. But you can't. And I can't. And Jesus didn't himself. I don't know why they took him out. You take that first reading. They've gone through the journey. Oh, did they suffer? Oh, did they have to endure? And it produced character. Initially some bad characters, but they worked it out. And they got themselves to hope. But the question stays in their chest, just like it does for Paul and those people, just like it does for us today. Perhaps maybe you're aware of some things going on in our world that might make you anxious or feel uncertain. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. And we find ourselves in this roadmap, and there's no other path to get to redemption except this one. It's the way of the cross. And then you come to this gospel story, this poor woman at the well in the middle of the day, in the heat of the day. Why? Because she's tired of the, as they say in the Philippines, chica, the gossip, the chatter that's going on all around her about her life. 5 husbands, and the one she's with now isn't even her husband. Oh, can you imagine the chatter at the social center of this community? I'll just go in the heat of the day so I don't have to see any of those people. And then she encounters Jesus, and he starts in. Here we go. This is why I come in the middle of the day, is to not engage in, I don't want to talk about it. But of course, what he does for her is he just sees her. He sees her for who she is. He doesn't judge her. He doesn't abandon her. He stays with her. His revealing to her what she already knew about herself set something powerful in motion. So much so, and we'll see if the little ones picked up. What did she do? What was the thing I'm asking them? She left the jar. The whole reason she came there. Why would she do that? Because she found what she was really looking for. That's when she said, please give me that so I don't have to keep drinking and I don't have to keep coming here. And she's not talking about water. She's talking about her whole life cycle. The whole thing's a mess and she can't see a way to fix it. And of course, she can't fix it on her own. She's talking to the only one that can make it straight. And on some deep level, she gets that and she sprints into town and doesn't pretend about the whole mess that it is, and just said, come see the one who told it to me all. She's found some kind of redemption, not in waving off the mess that is her life, not in pretending that none of that happened, but just in not abandoning her, being present to her, in calling her to something deeper and more. Suffering produces endurance. Endurance produced character. Character produced hope. And the hope for her did not disappoint. And at the end of that long Johannine story, the people say, we've come to believe not just because of what you said, we've seen it for ourselves. They've had their own encounters. And so then the question's laid at our feet. Is the Lord in our midst or not? And in a few moments, as Paul said, the love of Christ poured out to us. The love of Christ will be poured out to us in this Eucharist. And we can have a very specific, tangible response to that question that's very real for all of us. Is the Lord in our midst or not? Whatever the anxiety in our life, whatever the uncertainty that's in our life, we're going to have a very specific answer to that question. Maybe sometimes we do it on autopilot, but it's a wonderful time to lock in and say, the love of Christ poured out for me. That my journey of suffering through endurance to character to hope is when I do not journey alone. That the loving gaze of Christ looks upon me and says, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to love you. I'm here to journey with you, the same journey that I myself lived on this earth. And so then the invitation is, with the question that we all have, is the Lord in our midst or not? And how we answer that today shapes today. And if we get it tomorrow, we can bring that question with us into a new day, with our new opportunities to love and serve, with the opportunities to lay down our burdens as we sang, to come as we are, with our fears and our faults and our failures. Maybe we feel like the least, the lost, and the lonely. Maybe we feel really connected. Either way, we'll be able to come right as we are and say, Lord, help me. Help me to see your presence today. Help me to share that presence with others, not out of some sense of righteousness, really just out of a sense of humility that says, as the woman ran into town, come see the man who told me everything I've ever done. How embarrassing, right? How humiliating on some level. But she didn't care because she had been set free by that moment. I think we all have glimpsed that, if not basked in it at some point in our life. And there's an opportunity to renew it today in this Eucharist, in the telling of it today in the sacred scriptures, in the Hebrew scriptures, in Paul's proclamation to the Romans, and Jesus himself lays at us an answer to that question that will stay with us forever. Is the Lord in our midst or not? May God be praised.